Get strong.
But guys, we got one topic. We promised a sequel, a return. And we're talking again, where's the anime? With our part 2 of video games that deserve an anime adaptation. We had a huge blast talking about this last episode on the last live stream. And what a great varied list. I mean, Isaac, of course, mentioned Xenoblade Chronicles. He mentions a Fire Emblem. Mike brought Overwatch, Final Fantasy VII Remake. I mentioned Catherine, and I blew Arkwinder's mind. Like it was a great conversation. If you want to check it out, it'll be linked in the description below. And a week before that, we talked about mangas that deserve anime. So today we're back with talking about and bringing back even more video games that deserve an anime adaptation. Jamie is joining the fray for the duration of this episode and on this conversation. And Jamie, I know you have a Twitch channel. I know you play some stuff. So I'm really interested to see what you bring to this conversation. I'm really excited to hear this. So I can't wait. I don't know, guys. Should we jump right in?
Let's do it.
Awesome. So who's first?
I believe that would be the Mad Doc.
Isak. First thing, man. Bring it in, bro.
What picture did you put up first in the doc?
The first one is The Legend of Zelda.
Specifically
Twilight Princess. Nice.
Well, I'm sort of gonna semi-cheat here because when it comes to Twilight Princess, I don't want the game. I want them to take cues from the manga that has elevated the story.
Isaac, that was 2 weeks ago, bro.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that to the man.
I mean, I'm sort of doing a throwback to the previous one, but also is doing a spot for this one, because Twilight Princess, in my book, is the best written Zelda book, and the manga is just confirming it by adding the even more layers on top of it all.
I'll allow it.
And it also, I should have put it outside of Breath of the Wild. They argue that this is the most serious and the more. It's the more, I wouldn't call it serious, but the more
more mature type of story.
In comparison to the other Legends of Zeldas.
Mm-hmm.
And it just it's a Zelda game that I probably goes back to replaying at least once a year also.
So I want a little bit more detail, if you will, since you're pulling from the manga. What are the major differences between the video game and the manga?
For example, in
Link
the manga
talks.
Link talks in the manga adaptation.
Oh my god!
Link do talk and is an actual character, but on top of it all, that it's outside of that, they are evolving the whole idea of the Triforce. They put some manga-only scenes in between it all, that in terms of the context, evolving the whole scenario between the darkness and the light kind of deal. And it's also, I dare argue, the one Zelda sword that has the guts to be to show that war has no pretty side. I dare even argue that Twilight Princess, even the game, although the manga especially, it's not afraid to become dark when it needs to. That's what I'm gonna. That's the term.
I have a question. And I'm about to put myself out there, but you know what? I can take it. I've never played a Zelda game.
Boo this man!
Boo!
Hey, I can take it.
So,
Wait, did we,
He said he could take it,
we
but
lost him? Wow. Okay,
I can
no.
take it. I was taken down. I'm gonna say it again. I've never played a Zelda game.
You know, it's with great displeasure that we lost.
I am coming back.
in this conversation.
Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna give you another reason to take me out. I love the Attack on Titan ending. There, I did it. I did.
So, guys, for the audio listeners at home, I assume Isaac keeps kicking Brandon out of the stream, which I think is warranted. I think I'm the new host now of this episode. So, with that
He's
said,
back.
So, but here's the thing, though. I respect Zelda so much as a franchise that is not that I have not taken the time to dive into lore, dive into storylines and stuff like that. I just never had a console and actually bought a Zelda game to play. I've been toying with the idea of playing Breath of the Wild. I've been thinking about playing Ocarina of Time since I have the Nintendo Switch Online. So trust me, it's on the list. It's not like I don't have it anywhere on the list. It's there. So I'm not a heathen, just a slight heretic. So the
guys.
So the question,
Oh,
this is getting at, oh my God. The reason I wanted to ask the question is this, because based on what you were saying about it being more dark, it kind of sounds, I want to ask this question because I want to know if I'm thinking in the right direction. But it kind of, you make it sound like one of the things that the manga is doing that is not really something that really occurs in most Zelda games because of the audience that it's mostly directed to. But this feels like the manga is doing a good job in involving the people of this world more, as opposed to just having like standard NPCs. Because most Legend of Zelda games are very one-sided in terms of it is Link traveling through everything, and it's mostly from that perspective more than anything. But it sounds like the manga's making this the manga's making this world feel a lot more lived in. Like
make a home run with that content.
Yeah, so see, and I haven't played a game. So, but yeah, like it brings the I don't want to say this loosely, but it brings the Game of Thrones, the Fire Emblem of it all, into the world of Zelda. Which, for example, you can try and say that Hyrule Warriors tries to do that by expanding the cast of characters that you can play and interact with, but it's not the same, because it's still a limited number of people, as opposed to analyzing and exploring the effects of the constant war between light and darkness, Link and Ganon, and how that's affected Hyrule in a social, political level and all that stuff. Does that make sense?
Just to give an example of how the whole art look in that manga.
That looks amazing.
Yes, it does.
Okay, that's baller. I'm in. I'll watch the anime, and at some point I'll play the game.
You better play that game ASAP.
yeah, I would play the game first since the anime is still in the world.
Yeah.
I love how Isaac's main threat on the show is like, you need to do this ASAP. And then Mike is looking at his 5-year-old list like, right away, Isaac.
Yeah, any minute. I'm definitely gonna watch Violet Evergarden sometime in the next.
You
5
haven't
years,
seen Violet
I promise.
Evergarden?
No.
You know, Jamie.
So there's something about
I
didn't kick him out.
That was
deserved. That was deserved.
This is awesome.
Oh boy, Jamie.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on video games that should get anime adaptations? What's your first pick?
Well, I'm gonna go with my softball, I guess, first, and end it with my heavy hitter. My softball is gonna be the Great Ace Attorney series, which is technically like not that far out of reach, considering the Ace Attorney series already had its own anime. But a lot of people,
games.
yeah, a lot of
Or should
people
I say
in
these games?
the Ace Attorney like community agree that the Great Ace Attorney series featuring Naruhodo, which is supposed to be Phoenix's like great grandfather, I think. They say that a lot of these stories that Naruhodo is featured in are like so much more have so much more depth and are just much more enjoyable than some of the stories told in the original Ace Attorney series. So I would love to see them do an anime adaptation for that.
Nice, nice. One of the things that I like about I've seen trailers for this series.
Is this another game you haven't played?
Calm down. But I played. But here's the thing, though. I have played Ace Attorney, so I know what it's about. And I've been very tempted to buy this one. The one thing that I like about it, which is one of the reasons why I love Sherlock Holmes, is that this one takes place in a pre-technological world. So you have to be a lot more creative when it comes to telling fine detective stories to keep it engaging. So I kind of want to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I think it would be even for people that have already seen the stories and stuff, just like being able to relive them and getting like fully animated scenes. Because I think in some instances for the original Ace Attorney series, you kind of have some animated scenes, but for the Great Ace Attorney series, it was pretty much like a labor of love. So there was no way there was going to be fully animated stuff in there. So I would love to see that for the first time.
Cool.
Dope. Isaac, you said you love these games. So, like, what are your thoughts on this pick?
I think it's a brilliant pick, and it just makes me think back of the whole live action movie for the Ace Attorney games that exist. Yes, there is one, and yes, I've seen it, and it's actually decent for a video game adaptation. And I do believe didn't I even review this game for Ruben? I can't recall.
Very
you
possibly.
did. I edited it.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It has the prime example of goofy, enjoyable characters and interesting murder mysteries on top of all that. And you could do well. You can easily do your own stories if you even need the filler stories at that, because it just one mystery happen. You need to solve this. Rinse and repeat. It's just like the formula writes itself kind of deal.
Yeah. I mean, if Detective Conan has been going on for who knows how many years at this point, like there's definitely space for Great Ace Attorney.
People complain that the One Piece never ends.
No, look, if Doraemon is still going on, like anything can go on forever.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned like creating anime only stories, right? We're not going to necessarily say filler. It's just like anime only content. I think is a nicer term. A show that we're going to talk about a little bit later is Spy Family, right? And they've done that a lot this back half of season 1. We have some episodes that
I got thoughts.
Yeah, that don't connect to the manga that Isaac has shared with us. But they're still not bad. And it's just like, more adventures with these characters. So I'm cool with them doing stuff like that as long as it doesn't distract from like the main plot. Yeah. But having them do one random case that's not from a video game, I think would be cool.
Cool. Mike, what you got, bro?
It's my turn. This is a game Brandon thankfully has played, and that is Horizon, Zero Dawn, and Forbidden West.
Oh, and trust me, Mike knows. I've played this game.
He has played this game longer than anybody else on the planet, honestly. But
well, I mean, it took me only like 7 months to finish it, but that's a different story.
Oh man,
I really enjoyed
I've
this
definitely
game
taken
a
a
lot.
long time to beat stuff, so
yeah,
I can't judge.
Yeah.
So anybody who knows me knows that fantasy is by far my favorite genre, and Horizon, I was really struggling because it was down between Horizon and God of War, but I feel like Horizon would benefit the most from an anime adaptation. There's so many characters, especially when we get to the sequel, Forbidden West, and that story kind of has some trouble juggling them all. In the main story, you kind of get more from the side quest, which is cool. But I think that's where the anime would be really great, right? We could explore this extremely vast and colorful world and characters in a way that the video games can't necessarily do because they're so focused on Aloy and that beaten path that the games are taking. And yeah, I just think it's such a fantastic fantasy world that in the right hands, it would just be beautifully animated, and it would just have insane like action scenes. Aloy versus all of these robots and these crazy machines. So yeah, I'm going with Horizon as my pick for this one.
Okay, I actually, I was wondering until up until the point where you said like Aloy having crazy action scenes. I was wondering if you would want to do something similar to what like Disney Plus has done, where instead of focusing on like solely the Black Panther, like now they're having just a Wakanda show. Would you want something like that for the world of Horizon Forbidden West, where you get to expand on those characters a bit more without having like the pressure of focusing on Aloy all the time?
Yeah, you can do that too, right? Like Aloy, I love Aloy. Don't get me wrong, but she's also a character where you can easily spin off from her and follow someone else, and I don't think you miss a beat that much because the games are very focused on developing the universe, and so we can follow all of these other characters. We can even create new characters that exist in this world, right? One of I know it always comes back to Avatar with me, but one of the biggest ideas, right, is that you can tell a story about characters within the Avatar universe without it having to be about the Avatar themselves, because that world is just so huge. I feel like Horizon is in a similar vein where it doesn't even have to be about Aloy, because they are making a live action show. So this is going to get its fair share eventually anyway. But I think it'll benefit, especially again, my other pick was going to be God of War, but I feel like God of War is perfect as is. Horizon's the one that I think would benefit the most from an anime adaptation. You can take it in a multitude of ways.
So it's interesting that you mentioned the what you and Jamie said about the characters and the world, and there's something about. I mean, I like the idea. I don't know why, but you guys made me think about Agents of Shield, where of course Phil Coulson was a big character of the MCU, right? But it's really a show that birthed out of the character of Nick Fury. Yeah. That's where that show originated. That's where the genesis of that show came of. It's all about how can we expand the foot on the ground soldier life that comes through that side of Marvel's universe through Nick Fury, right? And Agents of Shield, like if you get an Agents of Shield type show in the Horizon world, that would be very interesting. Where not only do we not necessarily follow Aloy as the main character, we know she's around. We know she exists. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like similar to like the new PlayStation VR 2 game that they're working on, which is literally that. It's just another story within that universe. You can even do an anthology. Like personally, I personally am I'm torn because I think that the most faithful way of doing Horizon in an alternative media is live action, in my opinion. Because there's something about watching the machines in animation that I think it will make them lose a lot of their luster and appeal. That's my personal opinion. But if we do like live action, if we do anime films a la Animatrix in the Horizon world, I would find that fascinating. And like
I think it's fascinating that you mentioned that, considering your love for the Gundam genre.
Yeah. Well, the thing is this, but it's very different though, because Gundams are meant to be extension of human beings. These machines are extensions of nature. So the way they interact and like the human element is not something that you can completely separate from Gundams. This you can. So it just feels different. You see what I'm saying? That's just my feel. Like even a show like Zoids, those that know what Zoids are, it's just like Gundam because you literally have a pilot driving the Zoids, right? But yeah, like if I were to see an anime version of this, I would pick like an anthology series. Maybe like you have an episode that's just within the world of the Quen. You have an episode that's in the world of Nora. You have an episode that's about the Hunters Guild. You have an episode, stuff like that is just expanding stuff, similar to Final Fantasy 15 Brotherhood. But about a series, I don't know. I don't know if I'm convinced about that. But hey, if it's good, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
But it's a good pick, man.
I think that means you're next, B.
So, we're going to talk about Tetris. Oh, wait, they're already doing that.
Oh,
No,
gosh.
it's not Tetris. Is it true that guy's name's Johnny Tetris? That's so bad. So, this first game, it is a PS1 classic gem. And it's one of those explorations of the horror sci-fi genre from SquareSoft when before it was with Square Enix, and that's Parasite Eve. Parasite Eve. I mean, here's of course is a thing about it too, but Parasite Eve is a very very interesting game. It's an action RPG where you follow this main character that apparently has a connection to the main villain, which is someone that has developed the ability to evolve at a molecular level because their cells are mutated mitochondria. And it's like it mixes a lot of it's weird it's like fringe science, and like they have abilities, they have powers and stuff like that, and you can definitely it's like an X-Men kind of thing, but only very few people have it. But I don't know, the way the character models are, they're very modern Final Fantasy. The type of monsters, how the monsters create, I love how it has this psychopaths vibe. It has this Parasite the Maxim vibe, where you can tell these very interesting intellectual stories about what does it mean to be human, when does one stop being human, and where evolution is taking place quickly in a monstrous way, and is the main character still human even though she is connected to these new evolutions that are destroying New York City little by little. So I think it has a lot of potential. A lot of people love this. This is like a cult favorite game that a lot of people have been wanting Square Enix to remake for years, and I think it's ripe for adaptation. And it's one of those games or stories that you can, if you do it right, you can get away with doing a 16, 20 episode series, and that's it. And if it's good, it'll make everybody happy. So I pick Parasite Eve, horror sci-fi genre, cool action, and very interesting cast.
Has anyone here played that game besides Brandon?
I haven't, but I've heard so much about it and how the fans are really like begging Square Enix to return to the series and either do another iteration or a remake or whatever it is. Like they want it bad. So I don't think that this show wouldn't have an audience to begin with. I think people would definitely be interested in seeing it.
Yeah, it's one of those
Like
franchises.
Jamie said.
Yeah,
I was just going to say what Jamie said.
Nice. It's one of those franchises that I've heard about, but it's one of those franchises that I've heard about, but never actually played myself. So.
Love you.
Guys, you can tell that this is like the 4th year of their marriage at this point.
Yes, yes. But yeah, it's a cool game that like I played it for the first time maybe 2 to 3 years ago, and it still holds up. Like it's a very well made game, and it's great because it's one of those games where it kind of holds up its lore on the surface, so it's just ripe for development. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Like it has all the elements to be explored and expanded upon by good writers. So, I would definitely love to see something like this.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
We go back to Jamie.
Actually, it's Isaac.
Oh, Isaac. Don't worry, Jamie. Hold your hardball for a little bit. I remember. Isaac, all right. What you got, bro? What you got?
Well, do you remember that we covered a certain anime adaptation of a Square Enix game rather recently?
Anime adaptation of Square Enix.
Nier Automata?
No, that one comes out soon. I was talking about what's came out a couple of months ago, or was it?
Oh, a couple of months ago.
I know
there was like Neo the World Ends With You, but that's
you have to tell me what it is. Which one?
Oh, okay.
Nier. I was talking about the game, and
Jamie, I have it. Yes. Yes, we did.
Yeah, that would be
And
fun.
then Neo the World Ends With You. And I have to say that as someone that has now played both of the game after I watched the anime adaptation of the previous one, Square Enix needs they clearly need some to get someone to know how to handle it all, because this is a game that has been mistreated completely to the point that they just shadow dropped the PC port of this game the same day as Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out without any notice.
Yeah.
And but this is a game that continue is about an entirely new cast that gets involved in the game, so to speak. The world ends with you have, and they need to follow along and tries to, well, like the previous one, survive the game while a lot more problems occurs than the previous one had. And if you thought the soundtrack for the first game and the anime show was good, this show would just just knock it out of the par even more. And it's sort of like we need some stylistic French animes that sticks out and do their own thing and aren't afraid of being what they are. And with everything that they introduced in that game lore wise, I think they could do some pretty cool stuff within the visual medium. And Square Enix, if you don't want to do anything more with the IP, just sell it to someone like, well, even Sega or Atlas would be more important. Atlas would be a good pick for it.
I'll
But
be
I digress.
Just don't sell it to Konami.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, no. Yeah, they may
Although
be making
Konami-
pachinko games the next day.
Although Konami seems to pick up the pace when it comes to games recently, which shocks me. I won't lie.
So
Yeah.
I just need you to clear something up for me, because either I missed it or you kind of glossed over it. If this just got an anime adaptation,
No,
why?
the prequel got an
Ah,
anime.
Yeah, the previous game had
Gotcha.
an anime adaptation.
Well, it's not a prequel. Part 1 got an adaptation.
This
Yeah.
is a prequel.
So Neo, the world is a prequel.
No. The World Ends With You is a prequel. This is a sequel. This is a direct
Okay,
sequel,
I
even
think-
if it's
Right, we all understand each other. But what I'm trying to say is the original game is the first installment.
yes,
It would only be called a prequel if it came after Neo,
yeah.
which it didn't.
I thought you
Gotcha.
were whatever, potato, tomatoes, and
I-
chicken
Okay,
the best thing. but-
okay, calm
I
down,
understand.
Captain Salad Bar. What I'm trying to say. No, look, marriage. So
Uh,
now I am gonna ask a question, Isaac, because I know you pay a lot more attention to this than I do. That's why you're the doc. I'm not the doc. I just watch stuff. Was the original animation received very well?
For what
I know,
I can
I know we enjoyed it, but was it like well received? That
from
it,
what
that it
I
would
could
merit?
gather, it was.
What was that?
For what I could gather, it was.
Okay, cool. Now, in your experience, since you've played the games, was the animation faithful to the game?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
It
And I
was.
want to watch it. When it comes out, I want to watch it.
It has some. It's more.
Because after Persona 5, ugh.
It's a lot better than Persona 5, and my. Just like Mike had a what if pick, my what if pick was Persona 5 Royal, and I say Royal because, well, Persona 5 deserves more, and if you adapt Persona 5 now, you'd take Royal, especially considering a certain doctor, which is arguably one of the best written characters in the entire Persona series.
Yeah.
He just, I don't know how, but he still managed to throw it in there, Mike.
Hey, works with me.
Okay.
I think it's a pretty
Awesome.
good pick though. I've been playing the game, or I started playing maybe a month ago. I've been playing pretty slow, to be honest with you. But I really like the changes that they made, and how they're going kind of a different direction with telling the story. So I'd definitely be interested in seeing the sequel anime to The World Ends With You.
Sweet. Nice. I'm even more pumped now.
I've got nothing to add to this pick, so yay.
Jamie, you said you had a hardball. Throw it.
I do. Okay, so this has, I feel like, always been I guess a cult fit. What is it? Cult classic video
Okay.
game series until recently, and that would be, I think, the Yakuza series. It's definitely not like the biggest series out there, but it has grown substantially from where it was
Yes.
years ago. And I
Yes.
think it would be absolutely perfect to have an anime. Even if you didn't want to follow the main story, the side stories in Yakuza are absolutely hilarious. They're always fun to watch and experience with Kiryu. And I think even following the new protagonist, like Kasuga Ichiban, would be interesting as well, to get to know him a little bit more and get to see more of his background, or maybe even like what he's up to in between games. I know he has a game coming out, I think, next year. And then we also have from like the RGG Studios, Judgment is going on now. So getting to see what's his name, Makoto? Maybe, I think. Getting to see the detective of that series kind of like, spread his wings and make his way into like this big Yakuza universe. Maybe even getting to see like Kiryu at some point in the anime would be cool. I don't know. They just make a bunch of really fun characters and really like crazy kooky scenarios, even in the main story, that would just be gold to adapt to anime.
I love your pick. Um, it's fun because, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the reasons that Yakuza is blowing up in the States now is because it just started coming out in the States on PS4.
Yeah.
But this series has been going on. It's similar to like some of the Final Fantasy games that didn't come out till like years after on the States. Like, because this has been a big franchise for years in Japan, right?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
the first game was in 2005 in Japan.
Yeah.
But yeah, here in the
I
States,
believe so.
it was a
Yeah.
delayed release. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Yakuza is like, it's like Japanese Saints Row. It sounds ridiculous, sounds hilarious. I've seen a lot. The fighting style looks great. It has a lot of brawler elements that a lot of anime are kind of like built on that gang style. Like you got Tokyo Revengers is blowing up. Bungo Stray Dogs
Mhm.
has a lot of those like brotherhood like elements, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think you're on the money. It's like a the game is built like a an anime video game, but it's not because it kind of wants to be live action, but it's not because it's too crazy. So anime is like
Yeah.
the perfect medium for it.
Yeah, it's oh my gosh. I would do a lot of things to get to see this become a real anime. Just if not for anything else, just so that way other people can experience Yakuza and finally see like what all the craziness is about.
Yeah, I'm with you. Part of me wants to see this in live action though, and like make it like a Rush Hour type of series.
That would be interesting too. That
Um,
would be
it,
interesting too.
it it like Horizon. It's one of those where I would accept it in both. So I can't complain, regardless of how they want to adapt it. But this is one of the ones where it's like, yeah, I kind of want to see how this works in live action too. Give me both.
We want
and
all.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying we want them all.
So, and you know what's interesting though? Now that I think about it, if while we wait on an actual Yakuza anime, if you want to see anything in similar lines, um, you got to just watch what is it? The Life of a House Husband.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
You just gotta watch. That's how you prep for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was so good.
Yeah. So
Nice.
awesome. Great pick, Jamie.
Awesome
Thank
pick.
you.
Okay, Mike. What you got under your hat? Last pick.
Yeah, my last pick again was kind of going back and forth. We're gonna go with Assassin's Creed,
Nice.
and
Can't be worse than that live action movie with Michael
Interesting.
Fassbender.
Isaac
We're
is
talking
not
about
wrong.
good. We're talking about good things, Isaac.
I saw that movie in theater and ugh.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about good things. So I think Assassin's Creed would be a great anthology series, which is something Brandon mentioned earlier about
Yes.
my Horizon pick. But like, can you imagine each season we're following a different assassin, right? Or even smaller than that, we have 2 episode arcs with a different assassin in a different
I
time
like
period.
that.
And I think that would be a really clever workaround. We can have different events, we can have different stories. You can even play it to where they all start to connect, like Court of Owls style, right? Where the assassins are fighting this evil, shady organization, and it's just decade after decade they keep resurfacing, and it has like that one through line of whatever threat the assassins are trying to take care of. So I think that would be a really unique idea. One thing that I've been trying to do with all of my picks across the last couple of weeks is I don't want to pick the obvious, well, this game makes sense to be an anime because XYZ. I kind of want to go for the weird, if that makes sense, and see how it kind of fits into the medium that way. So I feel like Assassin's Creed, on the surface, it's like, yeah, make this live action, but I think it would be a really unique anime series if the right studio took it on.
And it's funny that you say that, and because when you mentioned anthology, you just blew my mind, because I think that's the key word for franchises like that. Because if you think about it, the anthology aspect of it has already been done to great success.
Right.
Marvel's What If.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the format. The format's right there. You don't have to do the whole bring the Guardians of the Multiverse or whatever, but you can do it where, like, you cover the initial stories of different time periods and stuff like that, or you cover one season, you focus on one character, and also it can be. It doesn't have to be an anime, and I'm gonna be very very specific with what I'm saying, because we accept all types of animation as anime, especially if we see the inspiration of it. I'm looking at you, Avatar. And it's funny because someone asked me like, "Is Avatar anime?" And I'm like, I mean, what I can say is this: the inspirations of the medium are there, and they're so clear. Then that if I don't consider it an anime or connected to it, I'm doing a disservice to the genre and to the animation. So it's like you know what I mean? Like, you can't really separate one thing from the other, because even in the storytelling, you cannot say that these people were not inspired by those works of art. It's not like Inception, where Inception is 100% a Western film, and even though we all know it was inspired by an anime, so
Yeah.
it's not the same thing. But like Assassin's Creed also will work like if Powerhouse does it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because the type of action that it calls for, it doesn't call for the type of action that we would see in My Hero or the type of action that we would see in Naruto. It calls for the type of action that we see in Castlevania. It will call for that type of very realistic yet magical kind of action that you would see. And I don't know, I think it would be awesome.
You can
Would be
even
great.
throw it to Studio Wit, right? And like how they animate Levi and Mikasa and Attack
Yes.
on Titan, and do it that way.
Yes.
Like, not necessarily the Eren
Yes.
style Titan
Yes.
fights, but yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Let me ask you this.
Dun,
If
dun.
you do this series, do you bring back Desmond, or do you just keep it like a non-animus experience? We're just seeing different assassins throughout different eras.
That is a very good question. I think we would just go with different assassins throughout different eras, just to keep it as simple as possible.
Mhm.
I think also I think that would just allow the writers and the animators to have as much fun and go crazy with it, right? If they know that they're only going to animate this one character for 2 episodes or 3 episodes, they can just go ham with it, right? And just throw whatever they want in there to make it the most balls to the wall fun series they can.
So I have a question. So I think from Origins onward is when it's become non-animus characters, right? Like Origins was one of the first ones that kind of broke that off.
I think after Assassin's Creed 4, technically, so Black Flag and onward, we no longer have Desmond.
And no
But there
kind
are
of
other
animus.
people. There are other people kind of taking his place, so you do kind of like come out of the animus at certain points. I'm trying to think. Which one?
So I think a cool way to go about it too, though, is we can start out as an anthology series and then we focus up, like in season 2, and we follow Desmond for the entirety of that season, type of deal. I think that could also be a fun idea.
You could do like a Templar one season and then like an Assassin the next or something.
Yeah,
It's fun. And the reason I ask what I'm asking is because it makes me think, going back to this whole what if format or formula, right?
yeah.
You can kind of use Desmond as the watcher. Like the idea that we're revisiting these experiences within the animus through this character. Like the main angle is the story that we're exploring, but the anchor of the show. And because what I like about the idea of the animus and all this organization is that it brings this, it sets the stakes from the beginning, as opposed to just building the stakes in a non-animus world. We're just following a character we just met. You know what I mean? Because if you, when you introduce the animus, you have the stakes from the beginning because you know that this is part of an overarching exploration of things that have been going on for years and years and generations. You already have that background there, and then you're just zeroing in. And like without the animus, you kind of don't have that zeroing in kind of quality that I think it brings to it, and it just makes it more deep and interesting, especially if you want to hit the ground running.
Yeah, and it being an anime, we don't pull what the movie did. When we don't spend enough time in the fun world, we come to the series for
Right.
it, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. It's like I'm gonna say this. It's like Sword Art Online. Like,
yeah, it's isekai.
It's exactly
Yep.
it's an isekai. Like now there's a way of doing it where you spend time in the real world and it's cool, but Assassin's Creed movies did not do that apparently.
No.
I still haven't watched it. I'd rather try and play a game.
Yeah, I'd recommend you play a game.
Play Valhalla, it's fun.
I actually own it. I bought it with my PS5. I haven't touched it.
Yeah, it's fun. You'd like it.
Yeah. Oh wait, it's Moa's turn.
Yeah, you're gonna close us out.
Okay, guys. In the year 2013, I think, I don't remember when it came out. I was a young lad with a PS1, and I liked Final Fantasy. And I stumbled into a game that I fell in love with so much that I think I've cleared this game at least 2 to 3 times, and I'm already preparing to play it once more on my tablet because I bought the newest remastered version of it. And I think it's one of the most unique Final Fantasy experience ever created. And I think it's one of the most rich lore worlds that is just seeming with possibilities in the animated format. And no, I'm not talking Final Fantasy VII. I'm not talking the craziness of Final Fantasy VIII. I'm talking Final Fantasy Tactics. Final Fantasy Tactics is one of the best games that has ever been made. Not just made as in period, but made from the Final Fantasy universe. And the reason I love this game is because it literally takes all the elements of fantasy and lore and makes them readily available for the player for you to become, grow, and earn throughout the entirety of the campaign, because it has a very, very deep job system. All of these jobs feel unique and powerful. You can create. You can have an endless supply of warriors, but apart from all the cool looking sprites, the tactical ogre based combat, it has one of the most profound war stories in any game I have ever played, even up to this point. It literally follows two kids, Ronza Beowulf and Delita Heigl. I don't remember. But it literally has this kid that comes from royalty and this kid that comes from the streets. And how they get mixed up in this battle for power between cities and kingdoms, and how politics destroy towns, destroy worlds in this medieval setting. And how a lot of times the true heroes are the ones that save the world from the real shadows, not the ones that people can see. So it has a lot of depth to it. The writing is phenomenal. It's one of those shows that even like the old PS1 version, all the cutscenes are in the sprite animation, because the sprite animation is very Super Nintendo like. But the remastered version, War of the Lions, which is the newest port for PSP, which I think is where this picture's from, actually has animated cutscenes in an anime style, which you can just expand upon for the anime. But there's just so much great story, so much great characters, so many betrayals, surprising deaths, and you can organically create new characters to explore the different jobs that you have. Like, I think this game has a total of 26 job types that you can have. And you can combine abilities from different job types, and there's ways of you organically bringing that into the story by creating characters that embody those ideas. And I don't know, it has so much potential, and I just love this game so much, and I would love to see it in an anime form. And the funny thing is, no other Final Fantasy Tactics game, because I think as of right now, there's a total, I think, of 4 different Final Fantasy Tactics. None of them have come close to the original in its storytelling. So, I gotta say this one.
Nice. So I'm a novice, a noob to the Final Fantasy universe. My first game was Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I only bought it because we were in a pandemic and I had nothing to do. So I'm like, let me try this game out, and loved it. So
yeah.
What makes Tactics your go-to? Because you said not some of these other ones. Is the storytelling really that much better than the?
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now. It's the storytelling of it. I mean, it's not as raw and adult as, but it can get as integrated as Game of Thrones.
Gotcha.
Like it's like the storytelling is on point. Like, it's great. Like,
it's really awesome to hear from a PS1 era too, because when people think of that era, they think of like Crash Bandicoot, right? So the fact that you had something that dense and heavy.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
and there's a lot of time that you spend in just cutscenes about people talking about their plans, and not even playable characters. Like, there's a lot of cutscenes that occur with villains talking amongst themselves, and or like setting stuff up in the background. Like, you actually spend a lot of time with characters also that you don't play as, just because they're finding ways to tell the story. And then it's like one of those shows where it's built like a show, actually, because you know how in some games, most of the twist, you find them out because the main character is finding it out. Mm-hmm. Tactics doesn't do that. You literally know a lot of the things in the background because you are behind the scenes with the villains, and then it becomes an interesting interaction once you find out, because the characters are finding out. So, and the battles are great, and the battle system is actually very, very great. Like, it's literally tactics, so it's like you moving them in squares and stuff like that. But the sprites are great, the animations are great. Like, this is a game that does not need to be remade at all. You can enjoy it just like it is. And I'm only gonna play it again on my tablet because I don't want to buy it again on PlayStation, because it's one of those things that is very annoying that they made a PSP port, but they never made a console port. So you can only buy like the remastered version in a tablet, or if you have a PlayStation Portable. So I just bought it on my tablet. But
That's dumb because they don't even support their portables, so they might as well have gotten into console.
Correct. But yeah, it's been great. I think War of the Lions is available on Switch, so I might just have to buy it there. But yeah, the game is it's great. It's just great. And again, it has a lot of like it's one of those things where all the story is there. You just have to find a way to translate the battle system possibilities into the animation. So like the skill set for the animators and the showrunner is not going to be finding a way to tell the story. It's finding a way to translate the world because everything else is there.
Awesome. I mean, that's definitely. I'm a bit of a Final Fantasy novice as well. I played the original Final Fantasy VII, like
nice.
maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and Final Fantasy VII Remake is actually on my next game to play list after I finish Ragnarok.
Yeah.
So Tactics, it sounds really interesting though, and I definitely have to look more into it.
No, Tactics great, and it's cheap too. Like if you buy the PS1 port, you know how sometimes it's still available like on PS4 or whatever. A lot of times you can get it for like $10.
Okay.
I'm going to see if it's added to PS Plus now.
No, it's great. Final Fantasy Tactics is great. If you're looking for another Final Fantasy that's good, before you jump into anything else. Oh, and by the way, Final Fantasy Tactics, the world that they introduced in Final Fantasy Tactics is the world of Ivalice. And Ivalice is revisited on Final Fantasy 12, is revisited on other Tactics games, and it is the world where the spin-off Vagrant story takes place, which is another beloved cult Squaresoft classic. So they did a lot with this world. So, just saying. There's a lot of stuff there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That was a good
Guys,
pick.
thank you. Guys, we've talked video games that deserve anime. You guys listening out there, what are your top picks? We want to know. You put it in the comments below. We'll give you a shout out on the show. Let us know what are your top video games that deserve or should have an anime adaptation. We want to know. Let us know in the comments below. We will give you a shout out on next week's episode. And who knows, maybe we'll give you a shout out on Twitter. But guys, this was a great conversation. Great topic. Love all your picks, guys. I want to pick up Ace Attorney. Because I think it would be great. And also, I kind of want to watch Assassin's Creed movie now because I want to hate it so I can really desire the
I mean, guys, if you want, we can cover it over at the chatter after.
Yes, we can. Oh, now you're going to make me watch it, you bastard.
Wink, wink.
So, guys, if you love what we do here and you want to keep listening to awesome conversations and topics just like this, make sure you click on the like button, subscribe, and click on the bell for notifications so you do not miss any single coverage of the Amateur Otaku podcast. But now, we'll see you soon. Have it awesome, guys. Peace.
Please.
See ya.
If